Hello and welcome to our second episode of AUC Observer. This is your host, Mirna Abul Saud. And today our show will be focusing on the environment and climate change. We will also interview Iman Mustafa, who will talk to us about agroforestry, which helps in adapting to climate change. Stay tuned. Earth Climate for Sustainable Development Foundation is an initiative that is working on how to adapt ourselves and countries with climate change. No more in the following with Mustafa Shhata.
As Egypt will host the UN FCCC COP27 in November, Earth's Climate for Sustainable Development Foundation demonstrates its work on how to engage Egyptian citizens in adaptation with this global crisis.
لو الأجيال دي ما استوعبتش الموضوع من دلوقتي مش هيحصل التغيير اللي احنا عايزينه. التغيير دوت زي ما قلت احنا في دولة زي جمهورية مصر العربية محتاجة يكون عندها ناس فاهمين يعني ايه تكيف مع تغير المناخ، ويعني ايه خفض الانبعاثات، ويعني ايه ازاي يبقى في فوائد مشتركة بين الاثنين، ما يبقاش في تركيز على جنب معين ونسيب الجنب الثاني. بالعكس احنا دايما كل شغلنا لازم بندمج فيه التكيف مع خفض الانبعاثات عشان يبقى عندنا منهج متكامل للتعامل مع القضيه دي ويفيد بالفعل في الاخر بايجاد حلول تكون نابعه من عندنا وتقدر تحل مشاكلنا.
The Climate Project is one of these initiatives in which EC4SDF collaborates with the European Union to motivate youth to take part in climate action in all Egypt's governorates such as Beni Suef and Qina.
احنا اتفقنا مع الاتحاد الاوروبي ان احنا نقدر نطبقها في مصر في 12 محافظه، كل محافظه هيطلع منها مشروع او بالتحديد يعني فكره مشروع، لان الشباب لسه ما اتطورتش امكانياتهم لكتابه مشروع كامل، ولكن على الاقل بعض الافكار. ففكره المشروع ديت اللي بتكسب في كل محافظه هي بتمثل المحافظه الى ان يتم المنافسه ما بين ال 12 محافظه، ال 12 مشروع يمثلوا 12 محافظه، يتم اختيار مشروع واحد يمثل مصر في المسابقه الدوليه الخاصه بكلايمت.
The organization relies on volunteers in its job to benefit from their passion for public service to raise Egyptian citizens awareness about climate change and the COP27 activities.
هو بالنسبه للجزئيه بتاعتي حته الماركتنج والسوشيال ميديا وحته ان انا اظهار المؤسسه دي مهمه جدا. من ناحيه المؤسسه مثلا بتبقى محتاجه هي معاها سورسز الموجوده على الارض ان هي تقدر تنفذ مشاريع، بس ما عندهاش مثلا التمويل. فانا هنا تيجي النقطه بتاعتي ان انا اقدر اظهر الصوره بتاعت المؤسسه بشكل كويس.
تنزل وتعمل مبادره في المكان ده بتلاقي ان لا في وعي، في بتبتدي حتى لو بشكل صغير الناس بتبتدي اللي هو يعني ايه اللي هو طب ما نوسخش ما نحرقش ما نعملش، بيبتدوا يخلوا بالهم من الحاجات دي
ويخلي الشعب المصري مهتم اكتر بالقضايا التغير المناخي والاحترار العالمي.
Moreover, the organization is not just focusing on Egypt, but also it is working with the African youth to facilitate their attendance in COP27 alongside Egypt.
نعمل قبل ما ننتقل لشرم الشيخ هنتجمع في هنزور مدارس، هنزور جامعات، هنزور في الاخر هنروح الاهرامات، كل ده عشان لرفع الوعي بالتغيرات المناخيه او climate change. بعد كده هنتنقل لشرم الشيخ لرحله بقى الكوب 27. هنبتدي برضو احنا عاملين واخدين المؤسسه مناخ ارضنا واخده كورس هناك جرين زون، هنبتدي نعمل انشطه مختلفه منها برضو هنكمل رفع الوعي بالتغيرات المناخيه، بالاضافه سيشنز خاصه برفع القدرات برضو سواء للشباب والناس الموجوده في الكوب 27.
EC4SDF believes that dealing with climate change needs an integrated approach, bringing to the table all stakeholders, government, international organizations, private sector, and citizens via civil society institutions to work together hand in hand to face such a global challenge. Mustafa Shhata, AUCTV, Cairo.
Climate change is putting food production at risk. Yield growth for wheat, maize, and other crops has been declining in many countries due to extreme heat, severe weather, and droughts. Know more about it with our reporter, Aya Al-Koumi.
change is one of the major issues surfacing Earth over the past century. The Earth's temperature has increased over the years, leading to detrimental effects on the economic and life sources of people, especially that of agricultural production and livestock.
اللي حصل عندنا في آثار سلبية وفي آثار إيجابية، يعني لغاية السنة اللي فاتت كان عندنا مشاكل كتير جدا في الإنتاج بالنسبة مثلا بالأخص في الحاجات الثمريات اللي هي الفواكه، مش بتكلم عن الخضار ليه مشاكل أخرى، إن إحنا بقى عندنا ديلي في الزراعات، يعني اللي إحنا كنا بنزرعه في سبتمبر بقينا نزرعه في أكتوبر وهكذا، بقى عندنا ديلي تقريبا شهر أو 45 يوم اكزاكتلي، هم 45 يوم بقينا متأخرين عن الأول. ده بالنسبة للخضار. بالنسبة للفاكهة المشاكل عندنا في التزهير والتلقيح بتاع الأزهار بتاع الفاكهة، وبالتالي طبعا ده بيترجم في الاخر للمحصول اللي هو الثمار اللي موجود على الشجر. لغايه السنه اللي فاتت كان عندنا مشكله رهيبه مثلا في المانجا، الزيتون، العنب، اغلب انواع الفاكهه ما كانش فيه انتاج خالص. كان الشجر شكله كويس جدا والمجموع الخضري ممتاز والمجموع الزهري ممتاز، ولكن ما فيش تلقيح، وده ما فيش تلقيح ده بسبب تغير المناخ. ليه؟ اولا درجات الحراره وبقت في اللي هو الموضوع الاحتباس الحراري ده بقت عاليه جدا، وبتعلي نسبه الرطوبه بزياده عن يعني زياده عن الطبيعي، وكده ده اثر على نسبه التلقيح بتاعه الازهار. السنه دي حصل العكس. السنه دي احنا الشتاء طولت قوي معانا، ممكن تكون امتدت لغايه تقريبا اخر 5 اخر ماي، وده كان عمل ميزه بالنسبه تقريبا 90% من اشجار الفاكهه بتظهر مع بعضها، اللي هو في الوقت من فبراير لغايه ابريل او لغايه ماي، ده اخرج ده وقت تزهير لكل انواع شجر الفاكهه. في انواع اخرى بقى مش في الوقت ده، بس انا بقول لك على 95% من الاشجار بتظهر في نفس التوقيت ده.
A 2020 report found that nearly 690 million people of the global population are hungry, up by nearly 60 million in 5 years. The food security challenge will only become more difficult as the world will need to produce about 70% more food by 2050 to feed an estimated 9 billion people.
الإنذار المناخي المبكر دي وحدة فيها مجموعة من الخبراء والمتخصصين اللي بيشتغلوا في فرقتين أساسيتين، فريق شغال لتحليل العوامل والظروف الجوية كفريق أرصاد جوية، والفريق الثاني من الزراعيين اللي بياخدوا البيانات اللي تم تحليلها واستنباطها من الفريق الأولاني ويحولوها لتوصيات للمزارعين في شكل ممارسات زراعية لمواجهة أي ظاهرة تحصل. الكلام ده بيحصل إزاي؟ اعتمادا على الموديلنج أو السوفت وير مختلف، نماذج عددية، نماذج رياضية عددية للتنبؤ بالظروف الجوية والعوامل الجوية المختلفة لمدة من 5 ل 10 أيام. ليه من 5 ل 10 أيام؟ لأن احنا عندنا 2 موديل أساسي شغالين بيهم، هم شغالين هنا في المكان، واحد بيتنبأ لمدة 5 أيام والتاني بيتنبأ لمدة 10 أيام، بالإضافة إلى الاعتماد على مجموعة من النماذج العالمية اللي موجودة على الإنترنت فري. نقدر نحدد منطقة معينة ونطلع البيانات الخاصة بيها وهي موجودة على الإنترنت. كمان عندنا محطات أرصاد جوية منتشرة، بناخد المجموعة دي كلها ونربطها ببعض. الفريق الأرصاد طلع إن في موجة صقيع وطلع المنطقة وحددها وحدد الفترة اللي هيحصل فيها ده. الفريق الزراعي طيب إيه اللي بيتزرع في الأرض دي اليومين دول من المحاصيل، أو ده موسم إيه؟ موسم شتوي ولا موسم صيفي؟ غالبا بيبقى صقيع، غالبا بيبقى موسم شتوي. طب إيه اللي مزروع في الأرض؟ في أنهي مرحلة؟ هو دلوقتي المرحلة دي أخطر حاجة إيه؟ طب التدخل لو دخلت بمركب يضاف كيماويا زي مركبات تسمين أو مخصبات أو خلافه، إيه اللي ينفع مع المرحلة دي وإيه اللي ما ينفعش؟ يعني لو هي ثمار وداخلة في مرحلة التحجيم في مركبات معينة ما ينفعش أحطها. لو هي مثلا لا دي محاصيل حبوب وداخله في مرحله الامتلاء، يبقى في كل مرحله ليها معاملات وتدخلات بشكل معين.
Unless urgent action is taken, climate change will increase food prices, decrease food availability, and exacerbate instability and conflict because of competition over water and fertile land. This was Aya Komi, AUCTV, Cairo.
COP27 summit is outdoors, and it's time to act against climate change. Get to know more in the following PSA by Maged Munir.
$58 $58, $59, $60, $1, $61, $2, $3, $3, $4, $4, $5, $6, $7, $8, $9, $10, $2, $1, thank you. That's $8,
Sold.
Greenish is an Egyptian foundation that aims to provide support to local communities vulnerable to the adverse effects of climate change. Know more about it with our reporter, Fatma Abu Omar.
Climate change is a very serious threat that affects all regions around the world. The climate action coalitions are at work now, and Greenish is one of them.
جرينش أول ما بدأت كان اسمها جرينش للفنون والبيئة لأنه دايما كانوا بيدخلوا الجزء البيئي من خلال الفن. من خلال الفن ازاي كانوا بيعملوا وركشوبس كتير مثلا للاطفال ازاي نعمل ريسايكلينج فنعمل مثلا سكالبتشر كبير من اوت اوف السيجرت بودز. حاجات كتير انا شفتها يعني حتى يمكن انا ما حضرتش ده كريم ولكن اثر فيا جدا خلال وجودي في جرينش لانه علقني بيها.
Although there are lots of good projects to implement, there are also some obstacles that face the foundation.
بيواجهنا على حسب البروجكت بيبقى فيه صعوبات. فعندنا مثلا في بروجكتس بيبقى صعوباتها في ان احنا نوصل للكوميونيتيز نفسها. لو انا هعمل بروجكت مثلا انا عايزه اعرف مين الاورجانيزيشن اللي شغاله في الانفايرمنت في حته ولتكن الوادي الجديد. مش دايما السوشيال ميديا تبقى بتساعدنا فبنحتاج ننزل ونروح الوادي الجديد ونسأل ونقعد مع المحافظة هناك لو ده حاجة أصلا possible ونتكلم ونعرف ايه الorganization which takes time, effort, money.
Greenish's main goal is to raise public awareness about climate change.
السيرفيسز اللي بنقدمها من خلال جرينش هي متعددة جدا. في الأول جرينش كانت بتحاول أكتر إن هي تشتغل على رفع الوعي البيئي وما كانتش بتحدد يعني الفئات اللي احنا كنا بنحاول نحددها طول الوقت او الاودينس بتاعنا كان مختلف. احنا كنا بنحاول نتارجت يعني ناس من جميع طبقات المجتمع وده ما كناش بنعمله من خلال حاجه واحده. فسي مثلا لو احنا بنتارجت ناس من كلاس A وكلاس B من فيسبوك فاحنا في نفس الوقت بنحاول ان احنا ننزل نعمل وركشوب في اماكن مختلفه في 5 مثلا محافظات. كان عندنا مشروع بلاستيك بحر والمشروع ده اتعمل في 5 محافظات لناس مهتمه ان هي تشتغل على الجزء البيئي في منطقتها او في الكوميونتي بتاعها.
Greenish is one of the Egyptian foundation that will take part in COP27.
شغالين على mainly 2 projects مثلا. في project شغالين فيه mapping بنعمل مابينج لكل الاورجانيزيشنز اللي شغاله في الانفايرمنت في مصر في جميع المحافظات شغاله في الانفايرمنت عموما او في الديفلوبمنت عموما في التنميه بس مهتمه بجزء صغير في الانفايرمنت او مهتمه بجزء التغير المناخ تحديدا. فبنجمعهم بنعمل مابينج للاورجانيزيشنز دي عشان يبقى سهل الوصول ليها عشان نبقى بنديهم اكسس او بنقول مثلا انه دي يا جماعه الاورجانيزيشنز اللي شغاله في الكلايمت تشينج لو في فاندر او دونر عايز يشتغل على الكلايمت تشينج يو كان ريتش اوت. دول الاورجانيزيشنز اللي هتقدر فعلا تنفذ لك البروجكتس بتاعتك فيبقى الاكسس للريسورسز اسهل. فده مثلا بروجكت. في بروجكت تاني ارتستيك شويه معمول هيبقى في ارت بيسز كده موجوده معموله كلها من الويست فده حاجات برضو من اللي هتكون موجوده في الكاب ان شاء الله.
They also help children produce reusable bags and home furniture from recycled materials. This was Fatma Abu Omar, AUCTV, Cairo.
The Student Union has organized a retreat to القناطر الخيرية to clean the Nile as it's under massive strain from pollution and climate change. Know more about it with Mirna Abul Saud. In an attempt to raise awareness of the importance of preserving water resources, the Students' Union of the American University in Cairo organized a retreat to القناطر الخيرية on the World Cleanup Day to clean the Nile. More than 250 volunteers from different universities participated in the event to highlight the importance of the Nile and the danger of people littering in the river.
Why it's important for people to participate? Because when they come and see the problem on ground and they stay for 20 or 30 minutes collecting the trash from the water, they know how hard it is. That actually will affect them later to think more about their consumption, daily consumption, and their also daily, how they will segregate their waste, where are they going to put their waste, and it gives them hope that yes, we all can do it together, not only one, but everyone has to start by himself with his consumption and with also to segregate his waste and to know where is he putting his trash.
The SU has partnered with Nile to manage this event and to provide volunteers and organizers, as well as guest speakers, to talk about sustainability.
Pollution has two problems. First of all, the actual waste and how people are overusing and over-consuming plastic and other wasteful materials. But also the problem is that littering and so on, it ends up in our Nile and in our oceans. So we're here to, not only did we have a talk at the beginning of the day to raise awareness on the use of waste and plastic, but we're also here to do a community service and clean the Nile and actually make an impactful change.
The volunteers were divided into 5 groups, and the SU helped them move through the stations to clean the Nile from plastic and other harmful waste, while educating them about the ecosystem. القناطر الخيرية is known for the cleaning activities that take place there, due to the fact that it's one of the last points of the Nile before entering the north at the delta through canals. These canals facilitate collecting the waste from it as it works as a barrier, and consequently, the flow of the water can go faster and cleaner. The Nile is heavily polluted in Egypt by wastewater and rubbish poured directly into it, as well as agricultural runoff and industrial waste, with consequences for biodiversity, especially fishing and human health.
Firstly, it's killing the fish and the sea life, and ethically, of course, this is incorrect. Secondly, we eat these fish and these creatures, and scientists are actually discovering that this is affecting our food. And thirdly, actually, these plastics contain chemicals that then pollute the water. And when locals wash the cows and so on in the Nile, it leads to skin conditions in the cows that we then eat, which could lead to different diseases and that we could catch from these animals. So this is actually a problem that impacts us personally.
Much of the plastic that is not recycled ends up in our river. Not only is this danger to the animals and plants whose habitats have become aquatic garbage patches, but it also poses a threat to the climate, as plastic releases greenhouse gases when it slowly breaks down, which results in climate change. Marine plastic pollution breaks down into microplastics and contributes to climate change, both through direct greenhouse gases emissions and indirectly by negatively affecting ocean organisms.
After the last 5 years, we've been cleaning the Nile from all of the plastic and the solid waste by collaborating with the fishermen and also the women who works on those islands, which is located in the middle of the Nile. It's so important because we knew from some of the fishermen that there are more than 40 species of fish that got actually extinct. So, and it's actually, those plastic or this waste is actually turning into microplastic that turns into the soil and into the water that's actually we've been feeded with and everything.
Another danger that threatens the Nile is the eichhornia, as it's reported that each bunch takes about 3 liters of water a day.
Surprisingly, we just discovered the more and more we're digging in environmental issues, we discover very weird and very dangerous stuff. Like, I don't know how do you call it exactly, it's Ward Nile. It's the the roses that are in the Nile. They are very dangerous and they spread a lot. And if you don't get rid of them, they destroy the water, they destroy the maritime life in general, and they cause problems to human beings as well, because they consume a lot of water necessarily for humans, better than wasting it in vain without doing anything with it.
Collectively, the volunteers were able to remove 1 ton of the waste that had been collected in El Qanatir. At the end of the cleaning campaign, traditional food was served by local communities of the Qanatir, as the SU wanted to provide a full experience of being in nature and among people who suffer the most in the area. Indeed, the SU worked hard in increasing awareness on challenges facing the Nile, while calling for climate action that can save our planet. Mirna Abul Saud, AUCTV. The Students' Union, in collaboration with the Office of Sustainability, hosted a carpooling event on Thursday the 22nd to celebrate Zero Emissions Day. This event is meant to encourage students to start carpooling to campus. No more with our reporter, Munira Samra.
The hole in the ozone layer is only getting bigger, and we are the cause. Globally, the average person produces 7 tons of carbon annually. According to a 2020 report from the International Energy Agency, only 28% of the globe reported using renewable energy. As for the rest of us, if you're using electricity or a car, you're contributing to the problem. Zero Emissions Day is an initiative started by a Canadian environmental activist in 2008. Since then, environmental activists around the world have been using the day to create awareness around ways to minimize air pollution. Students at the American University in Cairo decided to take action by hosting an event to encourage carpooling.
We're here from the Student Union in collaboration with the Office of Sustainability, and we have a section of the parking lot at Pepsi closed for carpoolers, and we had a lot of giveaways distributing also to carpoolers because we're trying to promote carpooling within the student body and faculty and so on. Obviously, if you carpool, there's one less car being driven, and therefore less emissions being used, but also in terms of like efficiency or like sustainability. Obviously fuel prices are going up, so not only is it like efficient in terms of emissions, but also cost efficient for students and faculty. Today's event was kind of to create incentives for students to carpool, and what we're hoping to achieve from this event is that people actually enjoy the experience of carpooling so that they continue to do this. So firstly, we're also trying to create a more long-term impact by facilitating carpooling for students by creating carpooling groups through Facebook and WhatsApp and so on. We are hoping to do this event more often, especially the parking, because I believe this was the greatest incentive for today. But we are looking for more long-term solutions for making carpooling also more cost efficient.
We have an entrance gate that limits the amount of people that goes in. They have to be carpoolers. We also give a lot of giveaways for the people that use carpooling. More parking spaces for more students, less fuel, better fuel efficiency, less carbon footprint. Many students like that. We appreciate sustainability.
This event caused a decrease in cars commuting to campus for the day, according to local AUC security. Overall, the impact of reducing CO emissions for only one day doesn't have much of an environmental effect. But the SU hopes that this event would create a change in commuting patterns for the future, which would have a greater impact over time.
I'm extremely happy علشان انا ما بلاقيش باركينج خالص وبروح اضطر اركن في جاردنز وجاردنز دلوقتي ما بقاش فيها باركينج ف I'm gonna pick him up every day now if there's parking. Of course I am.
I think it's really motivating people to carpool together, saving the environment. والصراحة يعني الركنة الصعب بنلاقي ركنة والحمد لله يعني. I actually support the idea and I really love it, plus the fresca طبعا يعني.
They have been recording the temperatures in China, I guess, and the rivers have been evaporating
and major cities across the world have been suffering from global warming. Other cities like Pakistan is suffering from extreme floods. So that's something that's very ironic. You see some countries are losing water, some countries are suffering from lots of water. So global warming is just an overall disaster, and if not taken into consideration or just try to be slowed down, it can ruin our future and the future generations.
One of these at-risk areas is Egypt's north coast, according to the UN, emphasizing even further that climate change isn't just some abstract idea, but an issue that affects every single one of us. This was Munir Al-Samra reporting for AUCTV, Cairo.
Agroforestry is a land use management system that can contribute to climate change adaptation and mitigation. Learn more in the coming story about agroforestry and agritainment to raise people's awareness about climate action with Huda Nahlawi.
Iman is a young woman who owns a farm that exists on Cairo-Alexandria Desert Road. The farm was like a desert at the beginning, but she worked hard to maintain it. She used a land use management system called agroforestry, which involves intercropping containing hundreds of species. This technique helps in diversifying production system and make it more profitable.
This passion grew even more after joining the Master's Program of Sustainable Development at AUC by trying to observe what other farms do in terms of clean operations and sustainable practices. And then I cooperated with a Dutch project who are experts in making farms more resilient to climate change and saline water. And they came up with the concept of agroforestry, which is applied here, and which is basically planting different crops of vegetables and trees, and also incorporating animals and chicken and birds into the system. So it's like creating a complete ecosystem that would attract different species of insects that would act naturally as natural pesticides. So you wouldn't need to do any or to put any chemicals into this system. So making this agroforestry concept had a very clear environmental impact in this soil if you compare it to other places of the farm that are monocropping. So this is from the environmental aspect.
Agroforestry contributes to climate change mitigation in 3 ways. It helps in sequestering carbon in biomass and soils, reducing greenhouse gas emissions, and avoiding emissions through reduced fossil fuel and energy usage on farms.
The project has another social aspect, which is agritainment, and it means combining agriculture and entertainment. So we opened the farm to public visits. We host school trips, corporate meetings, families and friends groups, yoga and meditation retreats. And this acts like another source of revenue for the farm, and it also a mean to raise the awareness about organic farming through making the people part of the process.
Agroforestry helps the farmer to harness natural processes that directly benefit crop production. Iman didn't only use the agroforestry technique, but she adopted a new concept called agritainment, which combines farming and entertainment to raise people's awareness about climate action to save our environment. People come to the farm and they spend the day with nature, and they learn about sustainable agricultural techniques.
قمنا بتسوية الأرض تسوية كاملة، وقمنا بزراعة بعض النباتات، وزرعنا بعض النباتات المتناسقة سواء كانت شتوية أو صيفية مع بعضها بطريقة مع بعضها البعض، بحيث كل حوض له نبات خاص، وهذه النباتات كل منهم مع بعض بيكون محصول المزرعة كامل.
Every week, the place hosts farm-related entertainment activities. This week, there was a yoga class where people attended the class, and they spent the day collecting some crops, and then they eat it instantly because they are without chemicals and pesticides. This helps in getting more closer to nature and enjoy the experience.
حسيت فكرة لطيفة قوي ان احنا نعمل اليوجا في حتة طبيعية فيها خضار كده، كومبينيشن لذيذ قوي ان احنا نكومباين ما بين اليوجا والمديتيشن والريلاكسيشن مع الجرينري سين. حتى احنا مسمين الريتريت vibing with nature.
Agritainment is a new way to raise people's awareness, including children, about the importance of organic food, clean eating, and getting in touch with nature. Everyone can take action for climate through innovative ways to save our planet.
Hello and welcome back to our interview part of the show. Today we'll discuss how the climate change is affecting our food and what is really meant by agroforestry technique with our guest Iman Mustafa. Hello Iman.
Thank you so much for having me today.
Iman, you have a land that was never planted before, or you didn't plant it before, and then you transformed it into a farm by using the agroforestry technique. How did you get this technique? Because it's not quite used a lot in Egypt.
I have always been passionate about leaving a positive impact on the environment and community as well, especially after joining the Master's Program of Sustainable Development at AUC. And since then, I was looking for a career path in this context. There was a farm that is owned by my brother, and he has part of this farm that was not, he didn't use. So I decided to start experimenting some sustainable farming practices in this plot of land. At first, I toured other farms to explore the agriculture world and sustainable farming and what are they doing. And then I met a Dutch company who introduced the agroforestry concept. They are experts in making farms more resilient to climate change and saline water and these kind of extreme conditions. So basically the agroforestry is to plant different varieties of crops in the same plot of land, including shrubs, trees, and also integrating animals into this system. So creating a complete ecosystem in one place.
What irrigation system do you use for water management?
Okay, the common irrigation system that is used in this area, the Cairo Alex Desert Road, is the dripping irrigation, and supposedly it is the most efficient system because you can control the amount of water that goes to the land.
So techniques that are not used a lot in Egypt are quite challenging somehow. What challenges did you face when you were using the agroforestry technique?
Okay, the agroforestry technique is quite challenging. It's not easy at all because you have to diversify big time the operations. Mm-hmm. You are not having only one crop, so it's different than the monocropping culture that you have a land that is planted, for example, all grapes. Train the laborers on different skills, and you have to diversify the operations in the same plot of land. So it's honestly, it's an operations hassle. However, the rewards of it worth it a lot.
Yes, and that contributes a lot to the climate change as well, right?
Yes, of course. When you have a variety of crops in the same land, you attract different insects, and you have like a natural farm, يعني, a natural made farm that would not by nature need chemicals. You will not have many pests as in the mono crop farms. So you are increasing the biodiversity of the place, of the farm, and you are improving the soil quality because each crop benefits the other one. The animals and the insects, they all work naturally with each other. So you improve the soil quality, you also make it more, they can adapt better to the climate change conditions, to the saline water. So you just leave them to work together as God have created them.
That's amazing, but how do you use the saline water?
The saline water, it's a fact. It's not easy to change it.
Yes,
it's in the underground water. So this is a fact that we have to adapt to it. So either we try to plant or grow crops that resist to the salt, and we already did this. We started to plant like figs, pomegranate, and these kind of crops. They can resist salt in the saline water. Or you can do things like agroforestry, to plant trees with the shrubs. So you make the soil itself more recover better, and you also save water because that soil will retain more water. So you will not add a lot of water, so you save more water. And in the saline water farms, the more you add water, the more you add salt.
Yes.
So saving water would save water, which is a good climate action, and also would decrease the salt amount in the soil.
So yeah, that's really interesting that you're using saline water and you're not using pesticides at all. It's really, really interesting. Okay, so moving from the agroforestry technique to the agritainment, you are now doing a new concept, which is agritainment. It's not quite used a lot in Egypt as well. How did you get the concept and how did you get the idea itself?
Okay, the idea came because agriculture is full of ups and downs, and it's not profitable all the time. So it requires a lot of patience and self-motivation to keep going. So I wanted to come up with an idea that would help me keep going and reward me, and something that I personally enjoy, which is bringing people together and sharing experience with them.
And it's adding more revenue to the farm?
Of course, it's the main reason is to generate revenue to the farm that is not affected by the seasonality of the agriculture. So we opened the farm to public visits, including school trips, corporate meetings, yoga and meditation retreats, groups of friends and families. And the visits are all themed around agriculture and how they can enjoy the farming processes depending on the season. So they are part of the process, whether they plant themselves, whether they pick their own food. They also eat instantly the food that they pick because we provide farm-to-table food services. So it's an experience. We are selling the whole experience, and in the same way, we are raising awareness in the most effective way about agriculture, about organic agriculture and clean food.
Okay, so do you think that agritainment can have like an impact on the behavior of the people when they come to the farm and, you know, pick their food and do a lot of stuff like yoga and so on?
Yes, of course. I have seen this very clearly that, for example, when you attend workshops, when you study about agriculture, organic food and so on, it's a good thing, but it's a completely different thing when you go through the experience yourself. So when people come over, they have like a memorable experience that, especially the kids now in this pace of life, they are really disconnected with nature. So they connect back to nature. They aside from the health benefits of the organic food, they can feel that it's more tasty and it's more fresh. And when they take part of the process, they become very attached to the farm. Now people come
very connected to the environment as well.
Yes, and people now come 2 and 3 times and more to the farm, and they always order their food from there because they trust. They now know that there is a farm that there are farms that produce clean foods. It's not a lie. It's feasible. They saw it themselves.
Which age group that goes the most to the farm? Yani, are they more of like children or people who are going to meetings and so on?
When I started this project, I thought that the most interested target group would be kids and families. But I was surprised that young generation, the teenagers, the corporates are very interested as well, and they enjoy the games that we do very much like the kids. So I thought, no, it's really much needed in the community. People really need this.
Thank you so much, Iman, for your time, and thank you everyone for watching. This was Mirna Abul Saud.